Hello, hello, everybody. This is Jay Walsh from ABC Capital Investments. And just to make sure you're at the right place, you are at the Cleveland, Ohio Real Estate Investment webinar. I expect to go about 30 minutes, and we'll leave it open for questions at the end. I see some names I know on here. I see some names I don't know. Just a little bit of housekeeping. You can there's a chat section here, and you can ask any kind of questions that you want, and we can respond to you. I'm going to try to hold most of the questions until the end. If you want to just test that, can just somebody write in here, yeah, I can see the screen and I see the PowerPoint started or something like that, just so I know that you guys can hear me loud and clear. That would be nice because sometimes I've started these things and no one even notices I'm on here. So if you go down to chat and type the message in here, let's see here. Let's see. I see people typing now. It says people are typing. All right, so I'm going to keep going anyway, assuming that people are typing because it says that two people are typing, but maybe there's a delay. All right, so we're here to talk about Cleveland. That's a beautiful picture of downtown Cleveland. Some of you are probably wondering, who I am if you don't know who I am, and this will be recorded and then actually, put on the website later, which is abccapitalcleveland.com. We'll go back over that. That's my wedding picture from too long ago, not that long ago, but basically I'm the co-founder and principal of ABC Capital Investments. ABC is a one-stop shop for real estate investors. Basically, we find property, renovate property, manage property. We are, as much of an expert as you can be. We are basically, we know everything about real estate, especially in the markets that we're in. And I was looking in the wrong places, so I see good to go and hi, Jay. All right, so we got you guys can chat here. All right, cool. So anyway, that's who I am. If you don't know anything about me, I'm a husband and a father of two baby boys, 2 in like 2 months. 3 months maybe. I'm a graduate of Drexel University in Philadelphia for accounting. I've been investing for 20 years. Investing all over the United States. I still invest all over the United States. I've completed over 4,000 property transactions, and I have over 55 properties in my personal portfolio. So I am an investor first. I'm not some realtor that wants to sell you something that he's not buying. I own in Cleveland. I own in many different cities. I'm not saying, one is better than the other. They're different. And depending on where you are in your life cycle and what you want to buy and why you want to buy, Cleveland might be great for you. And if not, another market could be good for you too. So that's who I am. What is ABC Capital? ABC Capital is one of the 5 largest turnkey providers in the country. We manage over 2,000 units with clients from 25 different countries and 30 U.S. states. We have offices in Baltimore, Cleveland, Jackson, Philadelphia, and Israel. Our headquarters is in Philadelphia. That's where I'm doing the webinar here from right now. We started in Philadelphia. I was born and raised there about 7 years ago. So we've been around for a while. We have probably 700 different clients. We've been doing it for a while, and we got a very diverse, set of clients. What are the advantages of working with ABC? Well, as it pertains to Cleveland, you're going to get a 6-month rent guarantee. You're going to get a 6-month full maintenance warranty. So the 6-month rent guarantee means if a tenant doesn't pay, we're going to guarantee that you get paid. I will tell you that it's the Midwest, and people tend to act a little bit differently than they do in the Northeast. So people tend to pay a little bit more often, not to knock the Northeast, but they're generally nicer people. 6-month full maintenance warranty on the house. We'll go over what we do to the houses. You cannot, in the market, in a bunch of markets that maybe you've heard of, you can't do a full gut, go down to the studs, new electric wire. You can't do that kind of renovation in Cleveland, as you'll spend more money than what the houses will appraise for or are worth. But what you can do is buy a house and upgrade it with all the essentials, and buy a house that is probably 33 cents on what the replacement repair value is. There's a lot of things about Cleveland that remind me of other markets in different stages. So we'll get into that. You will get a 5-year roof warranty. If you're a client of mine, the roofs, or roofs, as they like to call them in Cleveland and Pittsburgh and so on, last a lot longer than they do some kind of flat roof in Philadelphia or Baltimore. These are usually last 20, 25 years. But we will give you a 5-year roof warranty. You'll get a 5-year HVAC warranty as well. So that's some of the advantages of working with us. Some other ones are, we have private non-recourse financing for your IRA or for foreign buyers. What that means is, if most people traditionally come and they either buy it, this is a cash buying opportunity. So most people bring cash and then maybe go to a bank and refinance later, a traditional bank. But some people that, maybe they'll buy in their IRA. Your IRA can own property. If you didn't know that, you can reach out to us after this and I can explain that. That could be a whole seminar. But also your IRA or retirement account can also borrow money. So we have private non-recourse financing for your IRA. So you can actually basically juice your IRA. It's kind of crazy. So, if you got 50,000 in the IRA, you could buy, 100,000 worth of property by borrowing. Also, foreign borrowers or buyers, if you're on here, basically you can also use this private financing. Now, the private financing is more than a traditional bank, but they're also lending to things that traditional banks don't. So this is a unique opportunity we have. So basically, if you're a foreign borrower, and trust me, I know I have plenty of foreign borrowers. Everybody and their mother says they'll get you financing. This is a legitimate financing source that the only qualification they need is that you are a property management client of ours. And if so, you're approved. There's nobody to talk to. We just need to know what house, and where to draft your payments from. So we can get into that on, later. Also, your first tenant placement, basically finding your first tenant, comes free because the property is done when you bought it. These are houses that are done and rent. This is a true turnkey property. It means the house comes, rented or rent ready. So this is not like you're buying the property and waiting for us to renovate it for, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, a year. This is not the case. You're buying the property done, ready to go. And one of the biggest advantages from ABC is our experience. As I said, I've bought in many states myself. We have a lot of experience, a lot of information that you can draw on, and we're happy to give it to you. Okay, let's go to the next one. Why invest in Cleveland? Well, first off, the price point, as you will see, is fairly cheap. It's cheaper than really some of the other markets that we're in, except for one. So if you're working with a little bit of capital, the price point is very low. It's still a high return on investment. Usually it's 9-10% or higher. That's if you're cash on cash, not financing. When you finance, you will obviously accelerate your return on investment. It's stable income. Like I said, this is Midwest type rental. It's not this one I wish was in many of our markets. This is a place where if you don't pay rent, you're out of the house in 6 weeks. That's soup to the nuts. You don't pay on the 1st of January, by the middle of February, you're gone. So it's very highly unlikely that somebody's not going to pay. Rents are increasing, which I'll get into in the next slide. I should have changed this slide. It's not the bottom of the market. It has crept up, but I will show you in a chart that something that's very unique. Not a lot of markets are like this. It is still significantly below its pre-recession high. So as I was discussing a little bit more here, as of September 2017, prices have increased 13%. That's pretty high. It's ranked #1 most affordable housing market by Coldwell Banker. This one, you may not know. It's great information. It's the fastest growing healthcare economy in the United States, with 65,000 new healthcare jobs slated to come in the next 7 years. The Cleveland Clinic is a monster anchor downtown. It has 10 of the Fortune 500 companies, and it has 27 universities and colleges. Here's the chart, the most important chart. If you invest in any of our other markets, or most markets in the U.S. right now, if you look at the top left, this is where the recession was, and obviously everything took a dip. This is everywhere in the United States, but most markets are above their pre-recession high. So, like for instance, Philadelphia I'm in is above its pre-recession high. Now, some people like to get in because they're like, hey, look, that market's appreciating, and I still think Philadelphia is appreciating, et cetera, et cetera. But the people that make the most money are the people that get then in at the bottom. Or if you want to be a little bit safer, you see that it's starting to make a move back. And I think this is the prime time to buy in Cleveland because close it is. And I mean, when you buy at the bottom or close to the bottom, you take the wave up with that. You can make some really nice appreciation. Okay, so next one. So this is actually on our website, abccapitalcleveland.com. Cleveland, if you haven't been there, is actually a really cool city. It was once called the Mistake or the Lake. I kind of like that. It kind of goes, but it's on the cusp of being cool. It really is cool. It's really got that gentrifying, trendy. It's a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame right here. But if you're downtown, you can stay at. I usually stay at the Hilton. They have a rooftop bar that you obviously don't want to be out in January in Cleveland. But they have a rooftop bar that's, on the 32nd floor or something like that, overlooking Lake Erie and the Cleveland Browns Stadium, which, again, maybe you don't want to watch the Cleveland Browns. But, it's a really cool city. So that's just one thing I wanted to add here. And it has three major sports teams. Obviously, everybody knows LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cleveland Browns are, successful at not winning a game for a full year. And the Cleveland Indians are usually pretty good. So it's, it has a great sports town. That's always important. And all the, it's cool to see the stadiums and all the action downtown. Okay, so now I'm going to introduce you to Brandon Reed, our Director of Operations in Cleveland. He's the man on the ground in Cleveland, and I'm going to let him tell you a little bit more about Cleveland. And here's Brandon in his model picture with his wonderful family. Brandon.
Hey Jay, how's it going?
Good. Good.
Hey, okay, so my introduction, I guess. I'm a husband and father. I have two kids. That's a older picture. I'm a little fatter now. The boys are 7 and 10. I grew up in the Northwest and in Portland, and I went to Portland State University, and then now I'm in Cleveland. I've been involved in real estate for over 15 years. I've been a lender. I've bought and sold and remodeled probably, I would say, close to 150 houses as far as like in a retail environment, and close to 400 rental properties. I personally own 30 rental properties, along with some other partners of mine. We're probably close to 100.
Okay.
So where we're buying in Cleveland and where we're not buying in Cleveland. So like I said before, I'm from Portland, Oregon. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that market, but back in the 90s, no one wanted to touch it. It wasn't cool. Everyone, it was dreary, rainy, all that kind of stuff. But now it's one of the hottest markets in America. Coming to Cleveland, I saw the same thing that I did in Portland in the 90s. And we're buying the same way that people did, that I wish I would have done in Portland in the 90s. So we're going into areas that are, on the cusp of the gentrified neighborhoods that are, that are pushing into these areas. We stay away from the ghetto, east side of, lack of a better term. We stay away from the east side of Cleveland, where there's, there's deals to be found, and they sound really good, but when it comes down to it, you're not going to get the rents that you're advertised. You're not going to get the type of renters you want, and you're not going to you're going to have turnover that you're just not going to want. We stick to the west side of Cleveland mostly. There's two really popular areas in Cleveland. There's the Tremont Ohio City area and the Lakewood area. And this basically wraps around West Cleveland. Now, in between Lakewood and Ohio City, there's the Detroit Shoreway, and that's really popular, and we buy a lot in there as well. So all those areas are pushing into West Cleveland and Brooklyn from this the Brooklyn neighborhood from the south. So we're trying to get in places that we think that there's going to be a lot of appreciation, where you can still find deals, that you're getting good, solid renters, and you're not going to see the turnover that you are in other areas of Cleveland. We also buy in suburbs here and there, where we find good deals that are good rental markets as well. So most of the houses we're going to be buying are, that we buy and renovate are 1 to 2 story homes, 2 to 4 bedrooms, usually 3 to 4, 1 to 2 baths. Typical size, 13 to 1,600 square feet, built in the 1900s and 1960s. These are solid homes. Most of them have basements, so you get added square footage on that, and a lot of them have finished attics. If not, it's a good storage place. The homes themselves are built like things were built in the 1900s. They're solid as a rock.
Okay. All right. So who, important thing is, okay, so, we're going to sell you a property, but who manages the properties? And we vetted, with the help of Brandon, many property management companies over there. And we came up with a good affiliate that basically manages over 750 properties. And from us knowing how to manage 2,000 properties in Philadelphia, you know how to ask all the right questions and get all the right answers, and who's really got it put together. So we're happy to introduce you to them. We have a good relationship with them. If you have any problems, with the property, it's something where we have, a solid foundation with them, and we've given them a lot of clients that where, we can kind of also be a second, way to protect you. But, you're free to have anybody manage the property, but I will tell you that, we've really aligned with this company, and I can talk to you offline about them. But that's who's managing the properties over there in Cleveland. Brandon, you want to get into what type of shape the houses are in and what we do to them?
I mean, yeah. So basically, we're buying distressed properties. We have a checklist of what we want to do. The roof needs repair. We'll repair that. We'll replace the roof. The HVACs need to be repaired. We'll replace the HVACs. The nice thing about Cleveland is that you're not going to have air conditioning units really. So it's just going to be a furnace, which, in as far as being a property owner, your cost of maintenance on just having a furnace versus an air conditioning unit is going to be a lot less.
Now, Brandon, for some people that haven't been to Cleveland, can you explain, why you wouldn't need an air conditioner besides the fact that it's not in Mississippi? You know, I mean, I guess I'll just answer the question. I mean, even in the summertime in Cleveland, you're on the lake and it gets a cold breeze. You really just don't need an air conditioner.
Yeah,
Um,
you're right on beautiful Lake Erie, and you got a nice lake breeze. And I mean, some of these houses are, within a mile and a half from the lake. Not some of them are even closer than that. It's yeah. So you're never really gonna get, maybe on a hot day in the 90s, but most people, majority of the time within all summer is gonna be within the 80s. Um, the interiors themselves, a lot of these are older homes. I'm personally, I love restoring homes to their original condition. And so what we'll do is we'll strip out all the old carpet. We'll, strip out all the old cabinets and all, we'll try to replace it back to everything to an original thing. We'll refinish the floors, try to keep the nice windows. We really take our time and put a lot of money into these things. The electric work, if it needs to be brought up to code, we'll replace the panels. Sometimes with these older homes, you'll get fuse boxes versus actual breaker boxes. So we'll go ahead and we'll replace those right off the bat. We'll any kind of old iron like galvanized steel plumbing, we'll go ahead and take what we can out and either replace, usually with PEX instead of copper, just because we don't want any freezing issues. And then new appliances in every home. We prefer to do that over some turnkey companies will, put in used appliances and things like that. You'll find that you'll have more problems than the money you save on those. And every new appliance comes with a year manufacturer warranty, so that really works out for our guys. Yeah, by the time that you guys come into play, the house is beautiful and rent ready. We try to use the same kind of palette throughout every single house. So if something does go wrong in a churn, like say there's some damage to a floor, or the paint is messed up or something, we have all those materials on hand, and it makes it easier and cheaper for you guys whenever there's a property churn, when a new renter comes into place.
Okay. So here's a couple, examples of the renovations that we do there. Brandon, you want to add anything? This is pretty much par for the course.
Right. We like a great neutral palette. Like I said, as you can see, we refinished the flooring here. Most of our rentals, we don't put any kind of dishwasher in or something like that. We find that it causes more problems than than it helps. And we just like to keep it simple and clean.
Yep, looks good.
But people like it. They love it. I mean, our houses rent faster than the majority of everything on the market.
Okay, so I'll go over examples of the Cleveland deals. So I just put 2 examples on here. I will show you, after this, we have many we probably have about 10 or 12 on the website. All of the houses are done and rented and ready to go, and I'll show you how to reserve a property if you wish to do so. So here's an example of some Cleveland deals. This is an example of a typical Cleveland house. I didn't know that The Christmas Story was filmed here. And we actually were just happened to be driving by. This is not The Christmas Story house, but it kind of looks like it kind of too. We were just happened to be driving by, and I said, "Man, what's all these people doing here?" And Brandon's like, "This is The Christmas Story house," and it's like actually like they just kept it the same as what it was. And then some guy's renting his yard to park in, and they got a whole store across the street. I mean, it was great. I loved it. So anyway, most of these houses look like the Christmas Story house, but obviously a little bit updated. We have pictures of all the interiors of any house you want. We have a full length, but this is, if you want to just talk about the location here, Brandon, which I know it's in the west side, but if you want to give a little bit more detail, and then I'll get into numbers here.
Yeah. So the West 85th is actually one of my favorite little houses. It's what's called the Detroit Shoreway, which is really close to the lake, in between Ohio City and Lakewood. It's there's an art district there where they have lots of theater. Actually, Cleveland is the #2 theater capital in the United States after New York. So they have more shows after Broadway, I guess, than anywhere. And this is like really close to that area.
That's cool. Yeah, I'll have to add that to the PowerPoint. All right, so this property will rent for $825. Property management fee here is not a percentage of rent. For single families, it's $79 flat. Usually it's less than 10%. And for like duplexes, which we have a couple duplexes, they're not, I don't even think I have them on the site, but it's $90. The property taxes are $114 a month. Insurance is $46 a month. So you're going to make $6,400 per month. And based on this house is selling for $63,000. Again, super cheap. Nothing to do renovation wise. Closing costs will be around $3,000. So you're all in for $66,000. This is a 10.3% return. I mean, basically you can't buy anything in any of my markets for $63,000. I mean, you're getting a really, a solid house. And I promise you, If you're a client of mine already and you're driving and you're buying in Philadelphia and Baltimore, this is like going to another country. You're driving around in these big streets with big houses, like the Christmas story. So here's the next one, 2143 West 106. You want to say a little bit about this one, Brandon?
Yeah, this one's a little further out, closer towards the airport. This is a real blue collar area. This is a lot of great, around a lot of great manufacturing jobs. There's still steel mills there in Cleveland, and your typical renter here is going to be, a blue collar worker. They're going to be working on your car, you're making your steel. It's a great little area close to the airport. And it's a very desirable rental area.
Okay, numbers here. This house rents for a little bit more, $950. You get the same property management fee of $79, property taxes $125, insurance $46. So you're going to make it $8,400 after all that. This house is only $73,500 with closing costs of $3,000. So you're all in. This is an 11.4% return. So those are two. Now, how to reserve a property, and I'll get in the next slide. Maybe I should get in the next slide about why you might want to reserve a property. So we're going to open up for questions. So if anybody has any questions, put in some questions while we're doing this. So let me just explain. So basically, if you've ever been on a webinar before, there's obviously incentive for you to buy property now. That's what we do these webinars for. I know some of you just get on here to get some education. That's fine too. But basically, if you put a property under contract by this Thursday, January 18th, 5 p.m. Eastern, we will discount the price $1,000. If you put two or more under contract, we will give you an additional $2,000 on each one. So that'll be $3,000 off of each house, and we'll make the 6-month maintenance warranty 12 instead of 6. So it's incentive for you, to act now for people that are really interested in buying in Cleveland. We obviously are open. I'm sure you may have some more questions, so you can certainly contact us. You can email us at invest@abccapitalinvestments.com, or call this number, which is our investor line, and we will get back to you with any kind of questions that you have. I don't expect anybody, a reservation is not buying the property. It's just giving yourself first come, first serve on the reservation. Basically, you're holding that property until we talk to you. Now, let me get back. I'll come back to this slide after I explain and show you how to reserve a property, which is basically what is a reservation. Like I said, you're not putting the house under contract. You're just holding it until we talk to you about it. Maybe you buy that property. Maybe you buy another one. You can go to our website at abccapitalcleveland.com, register there, and click the button that says reserve. Reservations are first come, first served. So I'm going to back out here and show you exactly how we would do that. And there's a beautiful picture of the REITs. So here's our website, ABC Capital Cleveland. This is our investor line phone number. And if you go under our current inventory, you will see a list of properties. And in the list of properties, you can click this button, reserve, if you want to reserve that property. The numbers, all the numbers, rental income, expenses, etc., will be here. Some other numbers are in here. If you choose to finance with the private lender, how much that loan will cost, and how your return on investment will go up, and sometimes substantially, as you can see from this one to that one. So basically, go to abccapitalcleveland.com, current inventory, and reserve the property that you want. Let me check and see if there are any more questions. Yes, there are some questions. So let me obviously go back to here and go back to the slideshow. Sorry about that. I probably shouldn't have started from there, but I'll go down to our contact info. Well, that was a terrible failure. Sorry, guys. Russian. Okay. So let's see here. Well, you can see all the slides. So basically, invest at abccapitalinvestments.com if you want to do a phone consultation or have some more contact. This is the website, ABC Capital Cleveland, and this is our contact information. Do you have, so here we have a question here, do you have non-recourse loans that can be used for assets in an IRA that are owned free and clear? And you can elaborate here and But I mean, do you mean that you already own a property in the IRA that you would like to finance? And Brandon, maybe I'll let you answer that because you have a lot to do with the private lending. I guess it would. If I'm guessing, I'm sure that they could finance that if it was in a market where they're comfortable with the property manager. But what have you say here, Brandon? There's another elaboration.
Uh, yeah, let's see what he says here.
Yeah, the
Properties
property's
owned in
owned
an
in the IRA.
IRA,
No
no
other
loan
loan
against.
against it. May we?
It's in a case by case situation when it comes to that. Um, the majority of what we do is within our own property management network, right? So we are very particular when it comes to who is managing the property, where it's at, the loan amounts, those kind of things. So we've done a lot of vetting and a lot of research before we just pull the trigger on a non-recourse loan. And the reason we do it and we work with the partners we work with is because they have a proven track record that the property management's solid, the market's solid. They have the experience to handle those situations that can sometimes arise.
Let me
Uh,
just add to this. So, the private financing company has vetted ABC Capital and our markets. So they are in, all of our markets and they're comfortable with our property management, et cetera, et cetera. And basically, a non-recourse loan, if somebody doesn't know here, means is if you don't pay the loan, they're not coming after you personally. They're just taking the property back. So the most important thing to them is somebody like ABC Capital going to help them liquidate the property or not. So you may own that property in a market where they have a property manager that they're used to working with, and maybe that if that management went to that property manager, I'm sure that would be. I'm sure they would be willing to do the financing. Like for instance, if you owned a property in Philadelphia and I didn't manage it and I did manage it, and so you gave us the management, I'm sure that we could get you a loan. If you owned a property in Kansas City, and Brandon, I believe you guys do loans in Kansas City, right?
yep.
Yep. I mean, if you were with a property manager that they had vetted, they already know that market. I'm sure that they could. I just made up Kansas City because I know that they're there. They're in many markets, not just the markets that I do. So if you want to, maybe add what market that you own that property, that might help. But we can also talk offline. Um,
Yeah,
but
email after the webinar and we can talk about that then.
Okay, so I'll do an email intro to everybody, that's talking about this particular house. Do we have any other questions? Before we close the webinar, again, you can go to abccapitalcleveland.com, check out the properties, and let us know if you want to reserve one. Just click that reserve button. If there's no more properties, I guess I will close it because I'm sure everybody would like to go to bed if you're on the East Coast. So I guess without further ado, I'd like to say thank you to Brandon for being on the webinar, and thank you
Oh,
to
we have
everybody
a couple. We have a couple of more questions here, bud.
Okay, man,
Um,
I did more
Cleveland
work.
population has stabilized. Yes, actually, Cleveland has one of the highest influx of millennials within the United States. They've put in close to, I mean, a few. I'm pulling numbers out of here, but there's been a a ton of investment into the downtown area. Um, like Jay said earlier, there's 3 sports franchises. There's a casino. They redone the Flats district, which is these cool hip lofts and trendy area where there's got some restaurants. It has a very like I said, it has one of the highest influx of millennials. Because as Jay said before as well,
In the
is
top 10.
voted one of the.
For sure, I can give you statistics on that for millennials moving into the city in the
Yeah,
whole United.
because it's one of the most affordable cities. Where can you go where you have a big city, you have dining, you have uh, entertainment, you have all these things, and it's still affordable? Uh, you know, uh, there's not many places left like that in the United States. And so yes, the population is stabilizing. There's been a huge influx in growth, and I think like I said, I see it as the next you know, Portland, cool, trendy town.
I will add that the downtown, obviously, most U.S. cities have had, a downtrodden period. They had their heydays in the past. The downtown is spectacular. Like, it's bigger than what you would think. And I don't know anybody that's going to go to Cleveland and not think, wow, this is a pretty fantastic place. And I can see why it's cool and trendy and why people are moving here. And you're welcome to come to Cleveland and do a tour. I go there, once or twice a month. Brandon's there, all the time. So, if you want to come do a tour, we're happy to give you a tour. But it definitely is a place that will impress you after personally being there. And I'm sorry I didn't see those questions. And you're welcome for the answer. Okay, so if there's any more questions, I'll assume that there's not. I'm looking just in case there are, but otherwise, thank you, Brandon. Thank you, everybody, for being on the call. Let us know if you need anything. You can hit us up at invest@abccapitalinvestments.com or reserve a property or call our investor line. And I appreciate everybody being on the call tonight. Thanks very much and have a great evening.